Okay, so now for defense. There's really one big thing that we talked about and spent a lot of time on, and that's doing your job. Do your job, do your offensive assignment. And to start at practice, that job was protect the open side unders. Protect the open side unders. That's the basis playing good man defense, person defense, playing good person defense, sorry. And there are some easy ways to do, well, not easy, but there are some ways that we can do that by adjusting our body positioning. We're setting up, let's say it's a side stack. Defense is in red. Defense is boom right now. Defense is the good guys. We want the defense to succeed. It's a force flick mark, force right-handed person flick. Out in the lane, we've got one cutter and a defender. Typically, you might see a defender set up even. They're not tending towards the deep, and they're not tending towards the unders. They're even. But assuming that our cutter and our defender are roughly the same speed, there's a good chance that this cutter is going to get open. They're initiating this cut, so the defense is playing reactive defense, and as such, they will take time to react and probably lose ground before they can catch up. So, in an isolated space, we're probably going to get beat one-on-one. Because of that, we're going to decide to protect all of those underneath cuts. We're going to make the conscious decision as a team that we are going to guard every underneath cut. We're going to pressure the deeps, but we're going to make sure we don't let any unders off. First thing we're going to do is we are going to reposition our body. Second, and I'm going to change the way I draw these little people. I'm going to draw them as a T. This little nub shows where they're pointing, and if you see this, that's where their hips are facing. We are going to face our hips towards our person. We're going to shade underneath. You can play with how much you shade underneath. You can play with how tight you play. But we're going to position our body in that line toward the under. They never have a straight line to cut underneath at the angle that they want. If they want to cut under, they're going to have to make it tight, or they're going to have to go really wide and eat up all of this open side space. That makes it a really hard throw. So first thing we're going to do is reposition our bodies so that we're always in the way of their ideal cut. We take away their option A. They might go deep, and that's fine. We're going to maintain our spacing so that we're always still in the path of their under. We're not going to overplay it. We're not going to overplay that deep so that we end out here. That'd be silly, because we still want to guard those unders. We want to make sure that even if they cut deep, we are still in the way of their in-cut line. Game by game, that might change. We might decide that a team is really crushing us with their deep throws. And if a team is crushing us with their deep throws, we're going to reposition and take away all of the deeps. Now, if you see, the hips are still pointed to their player. They're taking away that line, and if they decide to go underneath, our hips are positioned so that we can immediately sprint with them to pressure that underneath. The next thing that we're going to talk about, say this person makes an out. If we look at how our defender is set up, they have their back to the thrower. They can't really see what's going on. What they're going to want to do, and we're going to make this a habit for everybody, is they're going to do a head check. They're going to turn their head, check in with the disc, see where it is as they're following the cut, and then they're going to go back to their assignment or doing their job, which is covering the underneaths. They don't turn their hips, they don't turn around to face the disc. They keep their hips facing the defender, and they just turn their head to check in. You do it really fast. You just need to know where the disc is to see if you need to change your relative positioning. Use your body. 1, put your body in the line of the cut that they want. 2, set your hips so that you can pressure the next thing. Set your hips so that you're ready to pressure the other options. One more thing that I want to talk about specifically with number 2. If your person makes a break side cut and your hips are set like this, when we're talking about our hips, the other important thing is, one, we're setting our hips so that we can always pressure the other option. But the other thing is we want to make sure our hips, we never turn our hips the wrong way. And turning our hips the wrong way is a little difficult to describe in words. It's easier to see in person, but basically what will happen if you turn your hips the wrong way, you will put your back to your person. That's what ends up happening when you turn your hips the wrong way. You'll lose sight of your person. And a good way to kind of visualize what your goal is pretend that you have to always keep your belly button pointing towards your defender. That way they're always in sight. So those are 3 things for defense under the main idea of doing your job. We do our job. We do our defensive assignment. In this example, protecting the open side unders by putting our body in the way of what a cutter wants, keeping our hips turned towards our defender, and when our defender makes a cut, or when our cutter makes a cut, checking in with the disc to make sure you know where the disc is. Super duper simple.